The kingdom rises. 2 teams enter. 1 leaves a champion. Big games don't scare us. They define us. Every moment brought us here. And the chance to keep the Lamar Hunt Trophy where it belongs.
And he's going to go down! And that is the 8th sack by Kansas City. Inside the pass is caught! Touchdown! Kelsey owning this game!
But it's not just about a trophy. It's about who we are and what we could become.
One game at a time. Every ladder we had to climb, man. We didn't climb it.
A familiar foe is coming for our crown. But this kingdom bows to no one. So call it what you want. But when the clock strikes 0, there's only one thing that matters. The chance to win it all again.
Sustaining success is the hardest thing to do in sports, especially in a league designed to create parity. But don't tell the Chiefs. They've defied the odds and overcome adversity time and time again this year, and for the 7th straight season, we're playing for the Lamar Hunt Trophy. We are 2 hours from kickoff. You've waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. My name is Matt McMullen, joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. This is Field Pass, presented by StorageMart. And Mitch, it's pretty simple. It all comes down to this.
Well, I love sharing these moments with you,
No, you too,
in specific, and the fact that to have 7 straight AFC championship games is pretty remarkable, and the fact that to host 5 of them here and to play for the Lamar Hunt Trophy is just something not to take for granted. It's an awesome moment. It's like we mentioned on Defending the Kingdom. It is a moment, and a moment even bigger than any of the previous 6 because of the history that's involved.
Now, this is chapter number 4 of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in the postseason, and that's special. Doesn't happen very often because only Tom Brady and Peyton Manning met in more career postseason games. Shows how unique and incredible this matchup is. I mean, it's really 2 all-time greats playing for a trip to the Super Bowl.
And what they mean to their franchises. This quarterback rivalry is so good for the National Football League because of the people that those 2 guys are. Josh Allen's a great person. I'm a fan of his. But Patrick Mahomes is amazing. Not only what he has done on the field to be 16-3 in the playoffs, but the person he is, the leader he is, and how he transformed every life that wears red, white, and gold, including mine.
What's kind of interesting, too, is that Brady and Manning had 5 matchups, but 2 of those were when Manning was with the Broncos.
Yeah.
So in terms of quarterbacks on the same team, there's really nothing else like this. And it's cool we get to live it, huh?
Absolutely. And then the history that's involved. If the fact that nobody's been here, I'm going to tell you the radio tease here is I gave you Magellan, I gave you Neil Armstrong, I gave you Brewster Higley rode home on the range, and I gave you St. Thomas Aquinas. Just because, just listen to it if you can at 5:20 or so or before that. But the point is, we're in uncharted territory. Chiefs won this game. It's something that's never been done in the history of the National Football League, irregardless of what happens in New Orleans. You win tonight in this game, never been done.
Now, there are a million things to talk about with this matchup, but for me, number 1 key to victory is winning the turnover battle, and that's because the Bills lived off turnovers. 32 giveaways this season, 3rd most of any team in the NFL. They had a fumble recovery rate of 57%, far and away the highest of any team in the league. Their 128 takeaway points led the NFL, and their 29 drives territory this year led the league, many of which because of turnovers. So protecting the football is always important. It's a particular significance, though, against these guys.
We always mention that what do you do with those takeaways? And you brought the stat initially, the 29 drives in the plus half of the field. But those yielded 118 points. Then you throw in, they had 3 defensive scores during the regular season. Last week's game against the Ravens was actually a microcosm of their entire season. In the fact that Baltimore was able to move the ball, but Mark Andrews gets stripped after a plus gain and changes the game. Lamar Jackson is driving for a score. He loses the ball, fumbles. And so that's the way Buffalo has lived this year. Now, Josh Allen, I said I'm a fan of his, but he was 24th in the league in completion percentage. I don't think we'd win a lot of money if we were at a bar betting that. But they live off the takeaway, and they live off field position. They're so efficient in the run game, especially. And Josh Allen's a very efficient quarterback. They're number 2 in the league in red zone offense. But if they don't get the takeaways, their life switches. And we saw that in their loss to the Ravens in the regular season, their loss to the Rams, and their loss to the Texans, quite honestly. So if the Chiefs can stay 0 in this game, they'll win.
Well, this Bills defense, as you mentioned, opponents have moved the ball on them this year. They've allowed the 4th most first downs of any team in the league this season. It's the number 29 third down defense in the league. That surprised me. Number 16 red zone defense. So again, opponents have moved the ball on these guys. The thing is, they make you run a bunch of plays. Yeah. And they kind of bank on the fact that if you run a lot of plays, eventually you're going to make a mistake, and more often than not, opponents have. The good news for the Chiefs is they've played clean football for 2 months now. Since week 12, we're plus 11 in terms of the turnover margin. Let's keep that going here tonight.
Mahomes now 262 passes without an interception, the last one, as you alluded to. And that was in Buffalo right behind us. Was a kind of a desperation play. The one that Rapp intercepted earlier was not. But the fact that this is now, for Patrick Mahomes, he's already set a record. This is the longest streak of a starting quarterback without a turnover going into a conference championship game in NFL history.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. I'm not trying to jinx him here. The fact that Patrick has played at such a high level since that game and not received enough credit for it. So if Patrick plays like that, and I expect him to play and be wide open and attack this team, you could get playoff Patrick in 2.0 in this game.
And that's important because this turnover discussion is further amplified by the fact that both of these teams like to play ball control and kind of condense the game. We've seen that all year long. So the Chiefs face the fewest opponent possessions of any team in the NFL this season. Think about that. And Buffalo faced the 3rd fewest opponent possessions of any team in the league. So just like week 11, both teams are probably only going to have 8 or 9 possessions in this game. You got to make the most of each and every one of them.
Which is why fans, I think, have to embrace the whole turnover issue. If let's just say we both get 9 possessions, well, I take one away. I'm not only taking one from you, I'm adding one to me.
Exactly.
So then it becomes 10-8. And with these teams and the way they are and efficient as they are, that becomes enough to win a game. But the Chiefs would have been first in the league in third down conversions had it not been for that stupid Week 18 game, right? That just convoluted so many stats. But the Chiefs have been so efficient, too, in picking up first downs. Now, how will Buffalo play the Chiefs? They would spy Patrick in the first game. They'll mix up zone and man. They'll play some man under and some zone deep. But they put a lot of zone in that game. So, again, where the Chiefs have to be careful is after a plus game. I don't care if it's D-Hop, anybody that touches the ball, you get a gain of 10 to 12 yards. It's Mark Andrews last week. You have to protect the ball at every second of the play. And many times human nature in the NFL goes down. Your awareness goes down if I'm running down the field after a plus play.
Let's talk about the Chiefs defense a little bit. And one area I'm watching in this one that I hope we can be better in than we were in week 11 is getting off the field on third down. Yep. I think the Bills were like 9 of 15 on third down against us back in week 11. And what's interesting is we got the Bills into a bunch of third and longs in that game, and that's good. Issue was Buffalo converted 6 times on 3rd and 6 or longer in that one, and 5 of those helped extend drives that led to touchdowns. Now, the good news for the Chiefs, didn't have Jalen Watson in that game, didn't have Charles Omenihu in that game. They're both back here tonight.
I think Omenihu becomes a real weapon because of his reach. It's the same thing that Patrick will face against Greg Rousseau and A.J. Epinesa, because those two guys are long. And we know how long Chris Jones is, but Omenihu brings the ability to be, as we said on DTK, on Defending the Kingdom, he'll shock a quarterback because all of a sudden a hand appears that you do not see because he enters your airspace with this long wingspan. But also getting Watson back too in the secondary helps the nickel and dime. It helps the entire defensive approach. Tackling will be a premium. It is at any game, at any level, but there's way too many missed tackles. And Spags and I have talked about this, is that if there is a cavity this year on defense, it's been 3rd and 12 conversions, 2nd and 14 conversions. You get that and team in a favorable spot, you should get off the field. But too many times people have had to convert in this game. The Chiefs will have to get off the field in these circumstances tonight to win this game.
Let's get Allen on the ground a few times, right?
Easier said than done.
Yeah, Allen was only sacked 13 times overall this season, fewest of any quarterback in the NFL. We didn't get him on the ground back in week 11. We were close, though, and that's the thing with Allen. His offensive line is very good, but he's also just a great athlete who's, huge and difficult to bring down. If we have chances tonight, got to make sure we finish.
Yeah, and there's a chance. I mean, what he has done remarkably, he had 65 giveaways from 2020 to 2023. He only had 8 this year. He had all 8 of their giveaways.
That's crazy. Not a single player had a fumble lost or anything besides him.
And they tied the Saints of 2019 for the all-time record in that regard. And in a 17-game season, it's really crazy. But you still can get the ball away. And if he runs the ball, and they do a great job. It's where Joe Brady has added some really unique and tricky quarterback run game. It looks like it's not a quarterback run, and then it turns into one immediately. But you have to hit him when you get a chance. And you've got to hit him and try to jar the ball loose. And so that's why I said Menahu's a big deal. But if he's going to run the ball, you're going to make him pay. They'll go tackle over tackle a lot. They do a double-double. They've got a really good scheme that Joe Brady brought to them in running the ball. And don't overlook Cook and Johnson and Davis. They've got a three-headed monster like we've got. But if Josh runs the ball, you've got to be physical with him. And easier said than done because he's such a physical quarterback.
Let's keep him off schedule, right? Yeah. And how do you do that defensively? Well, contain James Cook, which we did a good job of back in Week 11. He had like 20 rushing yards on 9 carries. Let's do that again. But also, let's limit the Bills' ability to rack up yards after the catch because that's their bread and butter. A lot of people don't realize this, but 57.9% of the Bills' passing yards this season took place after the catch. That was the second highest rate of any team in the NFL.
Goes back to my point on missed tackles. There were a lot of missed tackles in that game for the Chiefs, and that's at all 3 levels. This has got to be more than trying to make a hero play on defense. You always hear that about a quarterback. Don't make a hero play in this game. Just make the solid play, and that means tackling at all 3 levels, DBs, linebackers, and up front. You get a chance to make a tackle, make the tackle. Don't necessarily go for the spectacular play.
Khalil Shakir was the main culprit of all that yak yardage back in Week 11. He did that all year long as well. He had the 3rd most yards after the catch of any player in the league this season. Specifically, he caught 31 passes behind the line of scrimmage this year, and on those he averaged 8 yards per reception. Seems kind of simple, but you got to blow those plays up before they get going.
Yeah, a lot of them wide receiver screens that the Chiefs have done the best job of anybody in the league in defending those. But Shakir's really good. But although in there is also flip passes, which is basically a jet sweep. We've run it, whether it's been McCole Hardman or we're running with Xavier Worthy. But Shakir has been very resourceful for them. And again, he's a little bit slippery. But when you got a chance to take him and get him out of there. But he's been very good. And you mentioned 3rd where he ended up the season. Keep in mind, their Week 18 was like our Week 18. They played New England in a kind of a meaningless game, right? It was just so some of their stats, most of the time this year, Shakir was 2nd to only Chase. Jamar Chase had the only guy that was better in yak yards.
Now, one player who's back tonight that we've talked about a little bit is Charles Omenihu. He's back tonight. Didn't have him in Week 11 because he was injured, still recovering from that torn ACL. He's back now. He's fired up. Take a listen.
So excited to turn this guy loose in the AFC Championship game, Charles Omenihu. I'm going to start this way. I would see you when you were in your rehab and heartbroken when you got hurt last year in the AFC Championship game. But you had a face of determination and will that you were going to get to this point. What got you through there? And it's awesome to have you raring to go.
I think, like you hit on the head, my determination, my will, knowing where I was at last year, the level I was playing at, I've been thriving to get back to that feeling of being unstoppable. Nobody can really stop what I got going on, making impact plays every game. I wanted that feeling so bad, so the only way I can get back to that is getting on the field. So that's what kept me going through the rehab when it was difficult and when I had to watch games and all that stuff. So that was the biggest thing.
And still, some things were out of your control. You can't control if the Chiefs got back to this point when you weren't on the field. How cool is this, though, that, we don't win that AFC Championship game last year without your strip sack, but now we're back in that moment. You're healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
How great is this opportunity for you?
Yeah, I've talked to my friends about it. I've told them, it's a full circle moment for me. That when we do play, I'm going to be 363 games from when I got hurt to that day of the time span of from my injury to being back in the same moment. So it's going to be good. My mind is set on trying to make more plays and this time be able to step foot in the Super Bowl and make impact there.
Yes, sir.
We cannot wait for that. Your ability to play both inside and outside has been key. What about having the mindset of you can be as forceful being on the inside as well as the outside?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I tip my hat on as a player, that I can play the run inside, I can play the run outside, I can rush the passer inside, I can rush the passer outside. So it gives no limitation for where I can be at, where I can line up at. As long as I have an opportunity to rush, be one-on-one with somebody, eventually I'll get through. And like I said, part of me was kind of frustrated with myself in the regular season that I wanted to do more in that aspect, but I at times have to give myself grace and know that it's coming. And I was very big in like self-talk as far as this last game of having a complete game. And yes, I had the strip sack, but I also was heavily involved in the run game, setting edges how I know it's supposed to be done, playing the tight end how I've done my whole career, and just continue to show that all because I had an injury doesn't mean anything. I've recovered fully from that, and I'm ready to make the impact of the same level or even more that I did last year throughout the year.
Yeah, playing your position is a lot more than just the sacks. You're good at that part, though. And one thing that's kind of unique about you is you always go for the quarterback's arm when they're rearing back to throw. That's where you get all those strip sacks. That's a mentality thing. Where did you learn that?
Where did I learn that? I would say I was doing that a lot in college, to be honest. Watching, when I was growing up just watching defensive line, I watched DeMarcus a lot. Me and D. Ware had worked out probably my second year in the league in the offseason. I would work with him, and he would always talk to me about that. Seeing JJ, being with JJ, he did it a lot. So I was like, well, those and the impact it is to get a strip sack aside than just a regular sack is night and day. So I always told myself, like, these quarterbacks not that difficult to get down, so you might as well try and get the ball and make a huge, like, game-changing play. And all my playoff games that I've played in since my third year in the league, I've done that, and I just tell myself just keep going after the ball.
There are a few things better than seeing the panic on the quarterback's face when they realize the ball has been stripped away and they're like, where to go? It's great. I love it.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you more about that, but I'm going to go to Josh Allen right now and the fact that they do run it, whether it's Cook, whether it's Johnson, whether it's Davis, but Josh, playing him.
Yeah, I've been saying this. I think Josh is an extremely elite quarterback, very elite. To be his size, rocket arm, and then be able to run the way he can. And I just personally thought that, like, he'll get out no matter what. Like, he's a guy that can get out regardless. So you just want to apply and as much pressure as you can, shrink the pocket on him, make it to where he has no escape lane. And then when he starts to take off, you get off your block and try and finish the job. So that's much respect to him. I think he's top 3 quarterback in the league for sure, and he's one of those guys I think that's like a super competitor. Like, there's competitiveness and there's like ultra competitiveness, and he falls in that category.
All right, great stuff there from Charles Omenihu. We're now joined by one of the greatest players in Chiefs history. It's Dante Hall. Dante, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? I'm excited and ready for this game, fellas.
X Factor in the house.
Yes,
we ain't
sir.
losing. We ain't losing. X Factor's here.
You're here all the time, but when you're back on this grass, still get goosebumps thinking about all your great memories
Every
here?
time, and it never gets old. This place is special, man. I saw a shirt one time in the store that says, when I die, bury me in Arrowhead and I cheer from the grave.
Yep.
That is me.
I love it.
2 great teams here battling to go to the Super Bowl. You were so awesome and even underappreciated. If you weren't returning a kick for a score, you set up field position. How big in a game like this is every phase of special teams?
It's everything, man. I was just telling friends at brunch earlier that I feel like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, they're both great. They'll watch each other's out. How are the other guys going to contribute to the game? I think we win on special teams and we win on defense. That's the difference.
I want to ask you about that 0-3 game against the Colts. I know it was a heartbreaker, but you had one of the greatest moments in Chiefs postseason history in that game. I remember being a kid jumping up and down watching you return that kickoff for a touchdown. What do you remember about that play and how you kind of changed the game at that time?
I just remember, first of all, being very frustrated, right? No one had punted. Tony Gonzalez had a touchdown call back. Our all-world running back, Priest Holmes, fumbles. And I was just angry. That was an angry return. I wanted to make a mark and make a play. And I really felt at the time when I took it to the house, the stadium is going crazy, that we were going to mount a comeback. But they had that guy 18 on the other side.
Yeah. Still so cool, though. I mean, one of the greatest punt and kick returners in NFL history. In a playoff game, he brings one back when we needed it most.
I love it. And you would have loved to have played in this system offensively, right?
Yes, man.
You'd have like 2,000 yards.
I mean, you got to think, during my time here, it was all about the big receivers. I feel like now the league has embraced the smaller guys, the Tyreek Hills and people like that. So I was a little before my time. They changed the rules, obviously. That helps a little guy like myself be able to go across the middle. So now you don't have to just do all the little gadget plays and stay on the perimeter. So I often think about that. Man, Andy Reid could have drawn up some plays for me.
Ooh, he would have for sure.
Well, when you think about all the stuff that you did here in Kansas City, what I think is so cool, we talked about this off camera earlier, is all the stuff that you still do here in town and like around the world for the Chiefs. You and I were in Germany together a couple of years ago. You do USO stuff. You do so much stuff with the NFL Legends community. Why is it so important to you 20 years after your playing days that you're still representing the Chiefs?
I mean, I just think back as a kid that had a dream to make it to the NFL. And anybody that knows my story knows I had a little issue coming out of college. And the fact that the Chiefs, the late, great Lamar Hunt, took a chance on me. And not only took a chance on me and drafted me, gave me time to develop as a human and as a player. That's a special organization, man. So I'm forever grateful. So anytime this team needs me, I'm here for them.
Let me follow up on that, though, because many times with former players, when they're done, they don't embrace it like you've embraced it. I mean, the success of this team, I wish you would have had it. When we won Super Bowl 54, I thought of you, DJ, others, because I hope they're feeling like they won this. Why have you, in your soul, felt every piece of this? Because I told Matt this, as much of any of our former players, you feel it. Why?
I feel it because I understood what Chiefs Kingdom is. It's all about the fans. It's easy to ride the Kansas City Chiefs bandwagon now. Win the AFC Championship every year. That's easy. But I remember these fans brought the same passion, same commitment, same dedication when we were going 6-10, 3-13. So for me, it's really all about the organization, the hunt, starting with them, as well as this fan base in this city. So I just feel it, and I'm so happy that they are finally getting to witness the type of success that they're witnessing.
I was with him at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, one of the biggest Air Force bases in the world. And it was so cool. There was a line out the door, people in Chiefs gear in Germany, because they were stationed at Fort Leavenworth at some point, or Whiteman, or at some point in their life they were around Kansas City, and they thought Dante being there was so cool, and it was just so awesome. So we appreciate you, man, everything that you do.
Appreciate you guys, too.
You're the best.
You talk about him, this team living in his soul. You live in these people's souls.
Oh, yeah.
I'm serious.
And I feel that love, too. When I'm in town throughout, man, again, as I just mentioned before, to me, it's all about these people.
Amen.
All about these people.
Pride of Nimitz High School, baby.
Let's go. Go Cougs.
Last question for you before you go. Who's the X factor for the Chiefs tonight to hopefully get a win?
Great question, Matt. I think Nick Bolton.
Okay.
Spy. I hope spies Allen. Similar to what Milano did to Jackson last week. We keep Josh Allen in the pocket with a spy, make him beat us with his arm, not the legs. That's the X factor, Nick Bolton.
There we
heard
go.
it here first.
All right. After the game, I hope we're talking about
Scoop and score Super Bowl 57, Nick Bolton. Let's do that.
Go Chiefs.
Dante, we'll let you go. Thank you, man. We appreciate you.
Brother.
He is just the best.
He is, but I love the way, again, with former players, again, sometimes organizations are not like this. They don't embrace former players, but many times former players don't embrace what's going on. It's easy to be jealous or saying, "God, I wish I would have played at this time." Dante is, and the fact that Andy Reid, when he came here, opened the door to former players, the ambassadors. We talk about it all the time. But for Dante not to feel jealous of this or thinking, man, I missed out on something, he feels this, and that says something about Dante's personality and is what he is as a person.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, the 2003 Chiefs, that's the team I grew up watching. That's the team that got me into football. I mean, I was like 8 years old or whatever. And, sometimes you worry about meeting your heroes and those people that made you a fan of the game. Well, Dante is the total opposite of that, where Dante is just the absolute best. Trent Green is the same way. So, anyway, just awesome having him here. We'll hopefully have the inactives here in a moment, but we know about some of these things already. For the Chiefs, not really expecting much because this is like the healthiest I think we've been all season, and that includes week 1. The injury report all week had 4 guys on it. None of them were limited in practice at all, and there's no injury designations coming into the game. That's all you can hope for a big game like this.
What was interesting last week is the Chiefs basically turned it into 8-man football. I talk about it all the time. You know how much I love high school football in all states at all levels. But the Chiefs, because of Houston's approach and their great corners, made it between the numbers. They made it a 40-yard field. Not in this game. And what triggered that thought was use all hands on deck. All hands are on deck here. The throttle's wide open. If you can protect Pat a bit. One of the stats, you're talking about Buffalo's defense, and again, the takeaways are what's remarkable about them, and Epinesa and Rousseau and Oliver up the middle. But on 3rd and 6 or more down in distance, the Bills were last in the league. They gave up 34% conversions on those plays. If you can block a tick or the underneath play or a chance to use the whole width and length of the field, which I think the Chiefs will do today, and they'll stay in the underneath game, but there'll be shots there. You have everybody here. You have every card. You have every chess piece in front of you to play chess. And so I think that's a big deal today.
It's great timing. We just got the inactives.
All right.
So here we go. Let's see. For Buffalo, the big one we were watching was Christian Benford. And
47.
Benford is active here tonight.
Go.
So Benford's their number one corner. He was in concussion protocol all week long, was questionable coming in. Looks like he cleared concussion protocol because he's not inactive today. So he led this team in defensive snaps this season. We'll see, though, if being limited all week will affect him at all because he is their best corner.
He's very good. And again, he got hurt late in that game. So
on the onside kick at the very end.
Absolutely. So even it's when, I know you've had a week, but it's when you get hurt in the game too, because even those couple of hours can make a difference. And then Hamlin has been beaten up a little bit. We were watching him because he went from full and then kind of backed up a bit. So
and Taron Johnson too.
That's Taron Johnson I'm thinking of. But Hamlin has also fought some injury issues. So it's a secondary that I don't think is fully 100%, not like the Chiefs are.
Well, Taylor Rapp's not going to play, and Taylor Rapp is one of their starting safeties. He's out of this game with a hip injury, and that's a big deal because Rapp started 14 games this year. He was on the field for 88% of the Bills' defensive snaps this season. You mentioned it earlier, that interception early in the game against the Chiefs in Week 11 was Taylor Rapp, I think.
It was.
So Rapp's been a good player this year, and that means rookie Cole Bishop will be out there for Buffalo.
That, and they elevated Kareem Jackson, who's a 15-year veteran.
Yeah, I had to double-check that one.
15 years. He played out here for the Texans. He played for the Texans in the 2015 glorious Chiefs victory in the wild card win in Houston that broke the 21-year losing streak in the playoffs. That's how long he's been in the league. He's going to be active today for the Buffalo Bills. This is the difference of getting the bye. Why you get the bye? You get the 1 week where you don't have to grind it out and pound away. And the Bills are okay, but they still have casualties, and Taylor Rapp being gone is a big deal. It'd be like Justin Reed missing for the Chiefs.
A big deal.
Yeah.
Here we go, Mitch. We've talked about this moment a long time. Talked about it since OTAs way back in April and May about the opportunity in front of the Chiefs here. The talking is done. It's finally time to go out there and take it.
Yep.
For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Let's go get a victory!